It's not often dirty laundry airs in the wind for everyone to breathe, but when you look at what's in the mix, you start to realize you should have thrown out the whole basket long ago. The players in this pile are Veronica and Joey, Sunny TM, Ellis Mark, Just Stop, or Braxton, and Rice Pirate, or Mick. They all have their own hidden histories with one another, all shown through the lens of a former Just Stop video. Now, I was a part of it, though my involvement in the situation was greatly exaggerated, and at times outright lied about. Now, I didn't want to rush this video as I learned my lesson from Tina Fey 1. Taking your time is a better thing to do, and being too fast you can slip up, making it look like you lied to everyone, even if unintentionally. Luckily for me, I have receipts to prove my case. I will cover everything from Braxton's video, his response, Veronica and Mick's response, as well as finding out what Mark did behind my back. Now to be clear, I'll be showing a lot of DMs, so pause the screen and read them when you can. But before we get into the video Braxton made, let's have a recap of who, how, and why his video was created.
I'm the kind of person where if I'm like deeply hurt, fuck you. You're on my shit list. Fuck you. You're not my friend. I'll never be your fucking friend. That's how I am.
Braxton's original video covered three main people: Veronica and Joey, Sunny TM, and Ellis Mark. Now, I've had personal interactions of all of them, so I think it's best to talk about it. September 28, 2020, I DM'd Veronica because a mutual artist friend Beta's Inferno was speaking kindly about her works. Veronica used to work for Spindlehorse, and I was interested in her art. We talked for a short period of time, however I quickly realized this wasn't someone I wanted to be around. You see, Beta stopped being friends with Veronica, and she opened up about how she was shit-talking me to other people, calling me a cuck and racial slurs. I got contact with her and deleted my messages, as she was also relaying and leaking them to other people. A year later, Veronica gets my attention on Twitter, so I DM her. I confronted her about shit-talking me. Instead of apologizing, she says other people did it too. But also, I make videos about people, so that's basically the same thing. After asking who else shit-talked me, she never responded. Another year later, she tries to contact me, and I leave her on red. But any mistakes of Veronica will lead to her leaking DMs to strangers. In fact, the day we had our conversation in Twitter DMs, she leaked our conversation on a shit-talking server. This isn't to forget that up until the point when I unfriended her, even with all the shit-talking she was doing, she considered us pals? Does she do that with all of her friends? Shit talk? Sunny TM is a former Only Plays member. I met him December 2020 on Twitter, asking if he'd like to voice one of the main characters of an upcoming project, as well as edit a script. This was because he made a critique video about my previous cartoon. He saw things that I didn't, and for someone like me who reviews art and animation, it was good to have someone be that person to me. Though our business relationship wouldn't last long, as he claimed to be caught up with streaming. I let him go, despite not finishing the work, and I paid an amount we mutually agreed on. He was then officially taken off the project, and his ideas weren't incorporated into the final one, as I went in a different direction. I would also slowly stop talking with him, because he would try and rope me into calls with Veronica. Winter 2021, Sunny asked if we can call, so he can ask some questions about something or whatever. I was busy, so I just asked him to type it out and I'll answer later. Rather than taking no for an answer, or just sending the questions in chat, he proceeds to keep trying to call me. As you see on screen right now, Sunny's last messages to me were cringe and try hard. Are you scared yet? I'm almost free. Run. Now, this was someone I believed I was on good terms with. It was shocking behavior from an adult I thought I could respect, and as we'll soon learn later, I wouldn't be the only person he does this to. Christmas Day, Sunny releases a video about his short time knowing me. Within it, he leaks details about my upcoming pilot, showing the unfinished concept art and saying he hated working on my project. The reason why he delayed it was not at all related to streaming, but rather because he really hated it, though he never actually told me this during production. After his video released, he kept trying to get my attention, saying I'm ignoring him. He released the video on Christmas Day. I was visiting family and having a nice time. Much like Veronica, he too failed to set any boundaries or bring up any grievances until it would benefit him. If I'm gonna learn and get better, what am I to accomplish if all others do is pretend to be my friend, leak my stuff, and call me evil? I can't do anything. Whatever their motivations are, it's clear they didn't have my best intentions in mind, and these are not the kind of people you want to keep around. But you see, Ellis Mark is great friends with them, and none of this is new information to him. Mark was a close friend of mine that I've known for nearly half a decade, and we even got to hang out at VidCon 2019. So when Sunny released his video about me, my friend Croy and I called Mark, warning him about Veronica and Sunny, noting that they leaked DMs, milk you for laughs or pretend to be your friend, and leaked projects that they worked on. Despite the red flags and very clear concerns, Mark shrugged it off. Over the next year, 2022, Mark would slowly start promoting Sunny and Veronica more than ever on Twitter and his main channel. Over time, I would slowly stop talking to Mark, as if he was going to hang around these people, it wouldn't make sense for me to hang around him as much as we did before. Now, I thought this would be the end of it, until Braxton sends me a message on Discord. December 1st, 2022, Braxton DMs me on Discord. Dude, I've been getting really concerned about something, and it's only growing over time. It's about Mark. I think he might be being emotionally abused. Now, Braxton was someone I trusted. He was a former drama YouTuber turned cartoon critic that I'd known since about 2020, with a brief interaction in 2018. When I read that message, I took it seriously, because not only did I trust Braxton, but assuming this was about Veronica and Sunny, then things probably got worse for Mark. I asked my friend Croy to join the call because I trust his opinions, and he has a much more level head than I do, standing in as a neutral party. At VidCon 2022, there was apparently a negative experience at an Airbnb with Veronica, Sunny, and Mark. Braxton was there with his friends Neon Caffeine, Dumbsville, as well as Chris Pratt. In DMs many months later, Veronica chastised Braxton for his behavior, which caused him to apologize. However, when talking with Neon Caffeine, Dumbsville, and Chris Pratt, it turned out Braxton was being gaslit about what actually happened, mirroring the experience I had a year before. Braxton wanted to bring this to light amongst other things he found, and I told him I would not make a video for one very good reason. A lot of people hate me. If he felt this was important and required a video, that would be on him to create, and so he did. For majority of the time, Braxton would be working on the script and video by himself. However, he would have many people in and out on production, calls ranging from 2 to 8 people, discussing the situation and gathering research. Now, Braxton was the project manager, and I was essentially just research. Braxton would show the script to anyone and everyone he could to get outside opinions. Looking back at the messages, it's weird to see how much Braxton did by himself. December 6th, where he tells me he's already on his 3rd revision of the script. 2 days later, he already recorded the video and asked for things for editing. December 9th, he's edited the audio together and is worried about calling Mark. It was decided a call should be had with Mark to see how he was doing. December 12th, 1/3 of the video was edited, and he said he'd have it done by the weekend. The next day, the call would happen. Crowy was a sit-in with Braxton and I. He also suggested getting Mark on another call to work on script stuff. We wanted to make sure Veronica was out of the room and Mark was okay. Braxton decided to hold off on editing anymore, saying he'll wait till he talked to Mark. I agree with him. The call would happen, and it was pretty awkward, with Braxton admitting confrontation is not his strong suit. After the call happened, Braxton concluded that he should continue the video. After the call we had with Mark, he uploads a video about South Park. There's a notable one, as Mark was looking for YouTubers to voice over in it. Mark asked me to be in it, and I suggested if he needs additional people, Crowy and that creepy reading would be fine. Mark would go with the latter, but TCR had a change of heart. You see on Twitter, Sunny DM'd TCR a shirtless picture of himself saying, "I'm coming for you." At the time, TCR did not know what Sunny looked like, just that I had bad experiences with him. So to him, a random shirtless dude trying to be threatening looks cringe, so he blocks him. Sunny would later make his 3rd video about me, that for some reason also attacks people around me, including TCR? This is because he called him crazy in a debate. You know, looking at these messages that Sunny said to me, that's just an accurate term. Says TCR DMs Marks and he doesn't want to be in the South Park video, but can be one in the future. TCR even offered to find a replacement voice. Mark would shrug off any concerns about his friends by never responding to TCR to this day. Sunny would again repeat this behavior on a new account, transitioning from day-to-day troll to stalking TCR. During the finalization of the script, I was on a call with Braxton and Crowy going over it. I suggested for things to be in it and stuff to be taken out, however the things were either never added or completely rewritten. Within these calls, I took a step back on the video and further input, because even if he didn't see it this way, he really didn't want my input. Braxton again would be working on the script by himself, from making a through line to it's recorded to it'll release next weekend. As he is editing, I tell him this is a delicate thing to work on. I also tell him before release, those involved need to watch it first. January 22nd to 2023, Braxton uploads his video to YouTube unlisted, saying it's ready to watch. I tell him to take it down as it could leak and everyone needs to see it first. Just screen share using the file instead. And so Braxton showed this video to a lot of people, except for TCR. I was able to watch this video along with Crowy and an Anon, along with Braxton in the call. While we did like the video at the time, we wanted some changes made. Crowy suggested taking out the tweet that shows someone's name if looked up. I asked if Braxton could swap out my icon since I have a new one. He didn't do so, nor did he take out the problematic tweet. Crowy told Braxton that once he puts out the video, he can't go back, and bridges would be burned. I told Braxton there was no reason this needed to be uploaded today. I offered to just sleep on it and watch it the next day, because for cases like this, you don't see mistakes the first time. Trust me. Braxton said he was very tired and just wanted out, so 30 minutes later he released it. I can attest to what I said before, as after watching the video again, Braxton did a bad job. When the video was posted, it only stayed up for less than a single day. All of the hard work he spent on was now gone. So what happened? When the video released, a lot of people were on Braxton's side. This also makes the general ideas that Veronica and Sunny are bad people. Two notable situations involving the latter were Dubas Goobus and Sunny leaking someone's nudes on Oni's server. Now this was nothing new to Mark, as in our call he already knew. Dubas is a YouTube animator that had a short run of Sunny on his public server. One night, Dubus was talking to them and said a vaguely transphobic remark, to which Sunny started to record the call and fuck with him. He kept muting and gaslighting Dubus, added everyone to come in and make fun of him, causing him to be emotionally distressed. A private DM was shown on Twitter of someone telling Sunny to not make Dubus cry, to rather let him donate $100. That if he does so, it'll all be worth it. Sunny agrees to that as well as the server meeting, so nobody ruins this.
Why you get mad at me,
what
bro?
I meant to say was someone who used to listen. I was thinking of those Tumblr type people. That was wrong. I should. You know what? Fuck it. Restart. Listen, I'll just admit I said it and say I'm sorry. Is that better? I don't know. I don't fucking know.
Admit to your fault and start saying if.
Admit to my fault. I said. Listen, what I said was transphobic, and I don't. And it was wrong to say, and upon reflection, I am sorry.
Dubus made a public apology about what he said and donated the money. In Sunny's third video about me, he mentions this, claiming that Dubus' apology wasn't real and that donating the money didn't solve anything, further saying that he is still transphobic and asks why I'm around him. This is all stemmed from me having a Dubus plush in the back of my side, by the way.
Reading off the most corporate apology possible to amend for his actions. Dubus Goobus eventually, after being prompted by me, donated $100 to a trans organization, and within minutes of doing so, turned it around to make himself seem like a good guy by saying just how good he feels about helping people.
Now, the video doesn't actually show what Dubus said, just him having a panic attack, because it wasn't recorded. This led to his comments asking about it and him saying, "Dude, trust me." Though it's weird to see how dedicated he is to the Goobus Dubus stuff, noting the fact that Mark and Dubus are friendly on Twitter, so by Sunny's logic, does Mark support transphobic people? Though I must mention that Sunny has sent many messages like this in an old server. Of course, I won't read these out, but I will keep them on the screen for you to see. Now, to be clear, these are old screenshots, so Sunny still holds Dubus to what he did 2 years ago as if it just happened yesterday. If he wants to hold people to this standard, then people will do it to him too. He would do this again towards Bay's Inferno for saying a word you can say using a very old screenshot. With how he treats people, best of luck to him for his companion search. Dubus thanks Braxton for helping bring the story to light. Secret Narcissist, or Sir Pela's girlfriend, tried attacking Dubus on Twitter, spouting the same propaganda as Sunny. However, the replies were not in her favor, and she deleted one of the responses to Dubus, but keep her in mind for later in the video. While there was positive feedback on YouTube, Twitter was a different story. They're reading some of the reactions, it doesn't seem as if people really watched the video before having a take. One of the smaller errors I remember seeing at the time was from drama YouTuber Hopeless Peaches, who misremembered the age gap. The big reason why people hate the video is because Braxton hyper-focused on the marriage, going into detail about how he found out. It was a case of wanting to fully use what he researched, though it should have been trimmed down. From the outside perspective, it seemed like an invasion of privacy, as he detailed the numerous times Mark would get dumped, cheated on, and cucked as Veronica was dating someone else while Mark kept hanging around her. And seeing this and noting the age gap of 8 years, as well as the things Veronica and Sunny has done to other people, Braxton was worried about Mark. To others, it just looked weird. While commentary channels were talking about his video, a friend of Braxton suggested to get on livestream. The host, Doc on the Radio, actually suggested to Braxton that they can call tomorrow. That was a very nice offer. This would have given Braxton some time to prepare, as he mentioned early in the day he was tired. Braxton would invite Mega came into the call. As it turned out, he helped look over Braxton's script January 17th, then gave the approval. It was noted by Mega Cayman that my name was not mentioned in relation to creating the video, but regardless, he thought the script was fine. During the call, Keemstar would keep trying to get Braxton and Mark on Drama Alert. Within the live stream, Braxton contradicts himself a lot, but we'll get into that later in the video. Braxton would eventually leave the call and join a group of 7 people, including me. Braxton was in clear emotional distress and was asking what to do. He asked if I would make a tweet about the situation, and I told him I don't think that would be a good idea right now. Number 1, people hate me. Just like his words on stream, they will pick apart everything I say to make him look stupid for even considering making the video. Number 2, I learned my lesson from the Tina Fey situation, that taking timeless responses is good, and that rushing to action is bad. Number 3, this was after Braxton went on the live stream and made tweets discrediting himself for making the video. I don't know what tweet I would have made to defend him if he himself doesn't know what I should be defending. I told him if I were to respond, it would take time. 48 hours, a week, or maybe even a month. Every tweet and comment he makes pushes it back because I have to think of what to say. While we were in this call, a few people came forward with negative experiences of Veronica, Sunny, and Mark, with proof. This proof was so substantial, if we were able to have it before Braxton's release, the tone of the video would be 100% different. We'll go over some of what was found later in the video. As this was happening, Mark would try and call Braxton. All 7 of us in the call told him that would be a bad idea. The biggest reason is that he was in emotional distress. The group told him to text Mark instead, and we all pitched in to give advice. Not only that, there was the suspicion that Mark could just be roping him into Drama Alert. Braxton understood calling would be a bad idea, so he continued to text him. Eventually, Braxton would leave the group to call someone else, and Braxton came back back even more distressed. And so Braxton was worried about keeping the video up, and Croy told him to delete it. Everyone in the call reassured him that it was his choice, and it was his video. I agreed, because it's his video, and he should do what he wants with it. Braxton would unlist the video, deleting it the next day. He made a community post, and most would assume that's the last bit. And so Braxton made a response video pinning the video's creation on me and saying he's sorry he ever knew me. Whew, that was a bit sudden, eh? The day after the video released, I sent a message to Braxton. I saw you delete the video. I'm proud you were brave to do so, and I want to let you know I respect your decision, even if I fully don't agree with it. At the end of the day, it is your video on your channel. I hope you're feeling better. The main reason I wanted to keep the video up was because it allowed people to come forward, and this video is a beacon of light to let people come in from the dark. Taking down the video implies everything in it is wrong, and that those who come forward won't have backup with their own situations. February 10th, he called me to say he's cutting ties with me and he's making a video addressing everything with the script already done. I said that's fine. The next day he dumped out the video. You know, I assumed he would take some time, learning the last time about rushing things, but no. No, it's gotta be out now. The weirdest thing about the video is that it's centered around an apology, but the latter half is just about how terrible I am, no one likes me or respects me. I don't think that's an apology, I think that's just shifting blame. As mentioned before, this video has a lot of contradictions. Now this is either because Braxton's an unreliable narrator, or is just a malicious liar. Braxton for some reason claims in the live stream that Sunny's done a lot of terrible things and it matters to talk about, yet in the clearing the air video, he says only Sunny was tangentially involved.
I could also see that Daft wanted to make a large portion of the video about his personal grievances with another creator, Sunny TM, who was tangentially involved with the duo. How many people had been affected, especially by Sunny, and more so Sunny than Veronica. Sunny done a lot of horrendous shit to a lot of people. Veronica has also done bad to other people, but not to quite the same extent, other than with Mark himself.
Or how he even claimed that the video didn't materialize until January.
So I'd say I worked on it starting around early December.
Okay, early December, so...
Yeah. It didn't really materialize, and besides script, it didn't really start materializing into anything until early January.
When back in December, he was already recording and editing it by himself. The biggest issue was my involvement, as Braxton first claimed I was barely involved, and in this video says I was the main driving force?
So they helped with creating the questions and in the call, and that was mostly their involvement. When I would try to say as much in the script, he'd stop me and go, "Don't say it like that. People will deconstruct and focus on it if you do." He wanted me to use sneaky language again, so in the end I cut them out entirely.
Braxton would also claim that I forced him to put things in the video, but later in the video said he cut out the stuff I wanted in?
You might know, if you saw the video, that the section on him doesn't really mention Daft at all, other than briefly at the very beginning. That's because I talked him out of including a 6-minute summary of their interactions together, as it was completely unnecessary and petty compared to what I had found in relation to Dubus Goobus.
So which is it, Braxton? Do you have control? Do you not have control? Because even in text I suggested adding stuff and he said no. It's a bit confusing, you know? I'm glad to have showed the evidence before, because like, Braxton didn't. There was this weird infantilization of Braxton that he's too much of a jellyfish who couldn't have possibly made the video. It surely was someone else pulling the strings. And if you watch the follow-up video, I can see how he got to that conclusion. He doesn't mention people like Manga Cayman or really go into detail about everyone who worked on the video. His community post was quoted as saying, "To be honest, throughout the video production, I was iffy about the whole thing and kept showing it to more and more people who kept encouraging it. So I thought I was doing the right thing, but I've come to see I was wrong. I try not to create an echo chamber by showing it to people who had no involvement, as well as the ones who did. But in the end, it didn't seem to help." Further going into contradictions, he mentions adding stuff about Sunny leaking nudes in the server, to which he said there wasn't substantial evidence. Besides the fact that there is, this whole video has no substantial evidence. It's just a singular JPEG. Despite Braxton saying I never manipulated him, people in the comments still believe this was the case. Remembering the drama YouTuber Hopeless Peaches, she's one of the top comments saying I won't say anything about the video, calling me a coward. She then asks why Croy and I didn't defend the video, then says she thinks I don't need to respond publicly. Sorry to disappoint that I am responding, and you can't just rely on a video of anecdotal evidence for the whole story. Though it is weird to see how much of the video's process is misremembered. I could imagine someone encouraging Braxton to say whatever he needs to save his career, and move on. When I made my Jane face reveal video, someone did help me with the script, encouraging me throughout. I was 19 at the time. The main difference between Braxton and I is that I took responsibility in the creation of that video. It was my choice to record, edit, and post it. Just because someone helped me doesn't mean I can pin the blame on them. The honest reason why Braxton focused on me, even with what it seems to be like 20 different people work on the video, is because I'm an easy scapegoat. Instead of taking accountability, Braxton threw me under the bus and claimed the problem was solved.
Hello, I'm the host of That Creepy Reading, and someone that Braxton and Daft reached out to during the creation of this video. While I never read any scripts during the time of production, got to see the final video before it was unlisted, or partook in many of the calls between Braxton and Daft, I've spent this last week conducting interviews and talking with people involved with the video, looking over the exact deals of what the flying hell happened here. To start, while I believe some sneaky behavior went on behind the scenes and that the situation was horribly mismanaged and lacked any and all self-awareness, I cannot place all the blame on Daft, which is what people have been doing for a while. For starters, Braxton did show his script and video to several parties that are familiar and unfamiliar with the situation. Many of these people were not mentioned at all. I'll tell you what I told Braxton when I got into a call with him. If I had been shown this video, I would not have given permission to use my story. With the way Braxton presented me, it seemed like I cut off Mark because his friend sent me a message that could be taken as a joke on Twitter. At that point in time, I actually didn't cut off Mark. The only thing I said I won't do is be in a video with him, while at the same time his pal Sonny is turning me into content. I honestly did not blame Mark, but I would make the criticism that as a influencer, hanging out with someone like Sonny is a liability at best, especially since its strange, shitty behavior has been pointed out to Mark by this point several times. No, I did not cut Mark off until Sonny made a second Twitter account, the third one I've seen in total, so he could send me another message with the intention of making me feel unsafe. On the exact same day, I talked about this fear and anxiety in a video. Is it a possible coincidence? Yeah, definitely. But it proves the point that Sonny doesn't care who he sends messages like this to, as it did cause a serious panic attack that time. Like, if you want to call me a loser or whatever, fine, but these kinds of messages are just not okay in any circumstances, especially when you're ban evading to send them. I had to deal with low tier God going through my Facebook to find my address and roast material in a live stream with over 1,000 followers. On Discord, there's this guy who sends me creepy death threats roughly every 2 weeks, and crap like this lives in my head rent-free. So, to my surprise, despite Sonny being banned on Twitter a minimum of 3 times, Mark still takes the time to follow each and every one of these accounts. I'm getting messages like this and seeing Mark right there, supporting, promoting, and generally silently condoning his actions. I then saw some screenshots that shows Mark is willing to leak DMs to Sonny and his partner for the express purposes of like making fun of and shitting on people that at the time he called his friends. If Mark really just hates me or Daft or whoever, I would rather like just know instead of like wasting my time with this high school drama. Like, man, just point and laugh from a distance and stop trying to get involved with the personal lives of people that you genuinely don't care about. Mark has been warned. I gave him a chance to do the right thing after the first time that this happened, and then the second time, I heard a response for why he ignored me, but I'm just gonna tell this to Mark in case he's watching this. If that really is your excuse, I have no business going anywhere near your toxic group of friends, and I don't want you in my life at all. It's a horrible feeling not knowing where you stand with someone, especially in this business, and Daft has been upfront with me, sharing screens, DMs, and pretty much anything I could ask for and to search for what actually happened. So the question remains, what actually did happen here? How did something this bad make it onto the screen? Well, from my perspective, Braxton was wronged by Veronica point blank, and Daft was having issues with Sonny, while Mark was passively endorsing him and helping him mess with him behind the scenes. When you have two people that are so biased against someone, and you also cannot trust that person for obvious reasons, not only was an intervention a bad idea, if anything, it only caused more harm to the situation, Daft should have just cut Mark off after he found out that Veronica was married to him. I understand the naive belief that you could save someone from a toxic relationship, but that's just not how the real world works. But I don't blame the line of reasoning. At the same time, I also agree with Braxton that he should cut Daft out of his life. Those two are not a good mix, and their personality types are just directly incompatible. Sometimes that's just how life works. But what people fail to understand that for two people on the internet, it's okay that they don't like each other, especially when those certain flaws just cannot be overcome. At the same time, the idea that Daft rushed a video, manipulated Braxton into making it as bad as it is, and that if Braxton never talked to Daft, this never would have happened is also simply insane to me. There are 2 points during this production in my eyes that redeem Daft for his part. Daft told Braxton to show the video to everyone involved before the video launched. Had I been shown this, I would have had clear objections to the first half of the video due to personally learning from the Pro Jared situation and by having an ounce of self-awareness. If I had a chance to see this video and voice my criticisms, then Braxton uploaded it anyway with full support of Daft telling him not to destroy it or whatever, me and Daft would no longer be friends. But we don't actually live in that world, so you can only speculate on what would have happened had I been involved. The second point at which this could have been entirely avoided is the night of the upload. Daft and Crowy told Braxton the potential consequences of uploading a project like this. Not only were there issues that he had with the video that Braxton chose to upload, but Daft apparently said there was no reason why it needed to be released that day. That they could watch it with fresh eyes later and figure something out. Braxton admits that he was tired and due to declining mental health, he felt the need to get it out there, and I feel like that's important to understand when you're trying to assign blame because, yeah, I get it. Something like this is entirely emotionally draining, and I don't entirely blame him for that. However, Braxton was also the project manager, and it's his responsibility to get the right people to help him and make sure that the video is acceptable. Braxton edited the video and ultimately chose how things were framed if they were framed at all. Decisions behind the scenes were sneaky and honestly not the way to do things, but that would not have mattered had Braxton waited and did the bare minimum, which would include showing people that contributed to the video. While I do believe that both Braxton and Daft had noble intentions that were skewed by honestly rancid behavior from Mark's end, I ultimately have an issue with the fact that I don't feel like Braxton in both of his rushed videos took accountability. He accuses Daft of being sneaky, but can't back it up with anything he says as they happened in Discord calls that I was not a part of and can get no context from. The docs were deleted, which means I can't confirm the editing history either. That, and I found out that Manga Cayman, someone who did review the script, was not even given the evidence that he would need to understand what the hell he was reading, or to know if it was out of line or not. Point is, a bunch of socially unaware people looked and approved the script. I don't know how, but that's what happened. The only call I was there for was when they talked to Goobus about his story, and from my perspective, Daft and Braxton handled that call respectfully. I even said that Braxton should focus more on Sunny, because out of everyone in that friend group, Sunny is the most objectively toxic bad person for the YouTube community. However, at the time, he wanted to focus on Veronica and Mark, and I assumed that he had a good reason. I was fucking wrong. That said, I did talk to Braxton, and while I do have reservations, and I'm still kind of mad that he didn't take accountability for the wrongs he personally did to me, he's also no longer doing drama, and he's very young. I can't blame him for making mistakes like this as a project lead since, you know, it's kind of a learn as you go kind of thing. I'm fortunate enough, or unfortunate enough, to have been doing this since I was literally 14 professionally. So when I made my mistakes, it was on a lot smaller of a scale, and I had a chance to learn. Daft should have ran away when he saw the first version of the script, but you know, hindsight's like 20/20, and I've also spoken to Daft about that, and we're in agreement. I don't get to see the world where I could have stopped this, or even had some sort of impact, or even tried. I was left out of the loop, and the only one who advocated for me was Daft. Unfortunately, a undercooked, honestly gross video with a few good parts is what made it out there, with the worst of Daft's manipulation being unable to be verified, as the changelogs for the docs and the various calls I was not privy to are not public. That said, I don't blame either of them for this video. Like, it's a bad video, and you can definitely criticize how it was made. However, the thing that everyone needs to understand is that it was made from a very genuine, real place of concern. It's just no one was operating with a clear head as they all had been wronged by the same person. That said, I actually do blame one person. If Mark did not engage in this shit-talking high school behavior while hiding where he stands with people who genuinely thought that they were his close friends, Mark's marriage would not have been exposed like this. If I blame anyone, it's the dude shielding a cyberstalker who honestly does not deserve to be on this platform. But hey, that's just my take. I mean, I'm biased too, as Sonny's been cyberstalking me. Wish you luck.
We haven't actually talked about Mick, apart from just saying his name, so who was he and how was he involved in Braxton's video? Mick, better known as Rice Pirate, is a voice actor known for his works in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Hesman Hotel, and even Ruby. As for his involvement in the video, it was extremely little. All information from him was asked via close contact of his. In fact, the tweet that Crowy asked Braxton to take out included his name. That's how he became part of this, because of Braxton's mistake. But what about these two videos? Veronica made hers in response to Braxton's video, and Rice Pirate made his in response to Veronica's. However, I can't stress this enough. Veronica would have been better off never releasing a video, with nearly all the comments on Veronica's video just being about how awful she is and why she's really telling us these things. Mark would be showing support of her for the video by retweeting it, but judging by the like to dislike ratio, this is a really negatively disliked video. An interesting detail about the video is that it's probably been in the works for quite a while. Looking to Veronica's Patreon, a sketch of the thumbnail was dated back in January 9th, so if she had been working on this for quite a while, it seems that she always wanted to talk about this sort of stuff. Though as noted by her Twitch, she has no issue airing people's dirty laundry before then, often seen shit-talking exes that many would assume to be Chris.
So we go outside, and he's like, I love you so much. I made a huge mistake. I'm gonna cut her off. I'm gonna cut her off. And I'm just sitting there like with my cigarette because he hated that I smoked. So I just made sure anytime I just always had my cigarette out, just looking at him. And he fucking cried. Like a bitch.
The tone is vindictive and revengeful, opting to even use the worst photos of people she talks about. The video is riddled by screenshots that are either blurred, cropped, or look like she just made up, or just does a double standard to make others look worse. To give it too long didn't read, Veronica cheated on a bunch of people, starting with Oni and G. After dumping him, she went with Mark, dumped him a few times, and got with Mick. They broke up once and got back with Mark. She cheated on Mark, and they got married the same year. To give it the double standards, we'll start with Chris. At the time of them dating, he had been talking to an ex. Not anything romantic, but someone who's very sick. It's speculated that this was the person they fundraised money for, because they had Lyme's disease. Veronica told him to stop talking to her. This is a direct parallel to her exes, as whenever she would dump a date, she would keep Mick and Mark around for some reason.
That I don't get the kind of love and affection that's just all I really wanted. And then to also always have to feel that I'm in a competition with somebody else. Like this other bitch he kept around.
At times, Mark would come to her crying, drinking himself to quell the sadness. He even opted to use Mick's voiceover move just to be around Veronica while she was dating, to which Mark asked him to stop being affectionate when around him.
Mark's drinking is on par with us, and he's finding it harder to avoid these emotions, resulting in situations at Mick's house where he would come to me crying, making it clear that he was unhappy. Smokey sends Mark a message telling him that if he keeps this up, that he would lose me forever. Which was true. Things were getting bad between us, and I couldn't keep listening to how much I hurt him and help him with the same hurt. From this point, things get better between Mark and I. He had found talking to friends other than me, such as Strawberry Mage and Sunny, would help him feel better. And because of this, our friendship started to become healthier.
I can't believe she just said, yeah, the moment Mark stopped talking to me, he became way happier. Then say, I'm gonna be friends with him again because he stopped crying at me. Why would you tell him to go home? The video would eventually shift focus to Braxton's video, saying I bamboozled him into making it. She goes on to say that everyone hates me and thinks I'm a big old meanie dum-dum that no one respects. Veronica says that I doxed someone, and besides leaving out that this person catfished a minor for nudes, but she proceeds to show the same image I made in the tweets with no additional edits. Now I made a whole video about Tina Fate if you want to go into that, but if you want to claim this is a dox, then Veronica did it too. Veronica then brings up two videos I made 6 years ago, the Jade and Choi Panda ones, saying that I shouldn't tell people to stop drawing when I make art like this. Number one, I regret making those videos, and I'm thankful to apologize to Choi Panda IRL. It's never good to discourage artists, as everyone's on their own different levels of improvement. Number two, well, what is wrong with it? Like, I would have appreciated a critique on how to fix it. I want to make better things, but instead you just went, this is bad, and let people assume what you meant. She then ends the video calling me terrible, and saying that she's the most grown from this.
I wouldn't be the person I am today. And really, the only person here out of us four who has taken accountability is me.
It's weird that she pulls things from 6 years ago and acts as if it happened yesterday, as if nothing changed in the 6 years for me, but sure, keep using that image that makes me look like White Megamind to prove how mature you are. Now, this was a heavily condensed version of the video, but a lot of it is nonsense high school drama, though I do suggest watching the video, as it's better than any video I could have made to talk about Veronica. Like, oh, whew. But as for red flags, the biggest one would be shit-talking. Start off with me in the video. She claims the reason why I hate her is because she called me a cuck and racial slurs. The real reason was already mentioned before in the video. That she did this while trying to be my friend. Even when trying to catch up with me, she was immediately leaking my DMs to strangers to further shit talk. In fact, she would do this to his animators as well. Rebecca, an animator on Mark's pilot, was being shit on by Veronica. Within the video, she said she did fix stuff she made, but also says, yeah, she did shit talk.
You want to know what I did? What crime I committed? I would talk to my friends in a private DM that I didn't like how this artist would draw hands and certain features in their personal artwork. I want to make it clear that anytime that this was done on something that Mark was paying them for, I always chimed in and gave my notes, and in multiple occasions redrew the hands and poses myself. Even publicly telling them that I would prefer their old designs over their new ones when they would ask for feedback. This isn't a case of me telling somebody that I love their art and the way that they draw hands, and then saying the opposite behind their back. Shit talking, yes.
So she confirmed she was talking behind the animator's back to multiple people about how bad their art was, further confirming it was shit-talking, but hold on. Only on paid work she'd tell them what to correct. I'm glad whenever she asked for critiques publicly, you were there to help, but you just mentioned moments before about how you're discussing how bad her personal art is to multiple people. That's shit-talking.
Shit-talking, yes.
Now, I knew about this before the video when I already talked with Rebecca about it, because she needed to know. It's disrespectful to Mark's hardworking artists. She never reflects, not even once, that this shit-talking is not only bad, Veronica would also shit-talk Chris so much on stream as well as privately that it warped Mick's perception of him.
Mick had been messaging me earlier that day, telling me that he looks forward to running into a particular person there, obviously referring to Chris O'Neill. I joke with him saying that it would be funny if we could both clothesline him. This was common between us. Like I said, we both bonded over the mutual disdain for Chris and often made jokes at his expense.
A lot of the feelings that Mick had towards Chris was due in part to his ex planting the seeds in his head, but in reality the beef could have been sorted if the two talked and belonged to Veronica long ago.
I should mention that this was somebody who was extremely sick, and this was somebody who was also very important to him, so cutting them off made Chris feel worse.
Alright, this is the last time. I was like, you need to cut that fucking bitch off. Never cut her off. We continued the relationship for like 8 more months. Never cut her off. Gave me excuses each time. And always said, oh, it's really hard for me. It's hard for me to cut her off. You know, I've known her for a long time. I'm just like, nope.
When I mentioned that Mick filled in a lot of gaps, taking a step back, you start to see the gaps are actually gaping plot holes. Mick said that Veronica was telling the truth, and he's not refuting it, rather adding on to it. Veronica said that Mick was pressuring her to dump Chris. This is true, but also, everyone in the Fred group said this, not only to Veronica, but also Chris himself. You see, the former couple had been together for about 3.5 years, and they kept breaking things off, only to get back together again. Another case was Mick sending Veronica ciggies when she was in Ireland. This is true, but she left out the reason why. She asked for them.
She brought up me mailing her cigarettes to Ireland. Dude, you hit me up. You were so mad about those cigarettes because I think it was close to the beginning of your trip or early-ish on, and you were jonesing. You weren't going to be able to get the brand that you like there. And so you asked me to send them.
Another case was Mick bringing Veronica on his family boat to hang out. Veronica mentions this, as well as the cigarettes, to prove that Mick is obsessed with her, and that it's a mostly one-sided love relationship. However, for that, Veronica invited Mick to Mexico to visit her family, and so he can do research for an animation.
A little bit before the boat trip, she'd invited me to Mexico with her family, and presented it as a good opportunity to hang out and to also do some research for Blood Sun, which, you know, based on the location, which I'm not going to say, yeah, it would have been great. It would have been really cool. It was at a gathering, and yeah, I did give her more attention because at that time we'd been talking a lot. She'd been helping me out with some issues with my ex.
But lastly, a big thing is drinking. Veronica and Mick are becoming alcoholics. In her video, she said that Mick pressured her to drink. That's true, but Veronica also pressured him to drink too. It was a mutual pressure due to the shrinking friend group. Their alcoholism affected many people and pushed them away from others, so they found solace in each other to drink.
When we partied hard. You know, for two people who drink way too much, We definitely enabled each other. We were drinking buddies. She'd invite me out, I'd invite her out. And the more people distanced themselves, the more isolated we got. The more we hung out, the more I shared with her, the more I trusted her. And it felt mutual. It felt real. It felt special. She very quickly became my best and closest friend. What pissed her off pissed me off. What she was interested in, I wanted to check out. She listened and she cared.
Hearing that Veronica left out a lot of details, mixed in with her need the shit talk, are some great big waving red flags. If not for Mick, we wouldn't have gotten the full story, and I was right in my assessment 3 years ago to stop being friends with her. Mick concludes his video by apologizing to those involved and saying he's working on being sober. I wish him the best. So to recap, Veronica shit talks you even if you're friends. She leaks stuff, doesn't set boundaries, and gets mad at you for overstepping them, and when retelling the story, she leaves out details.
Look, I don't think you were fairly or fully represented in the video calling you out because I know that there's a lot of good too. I became best friends with and infatuated by some of those aspects, but I also know that when you want to hurt someone, you can go hard.
Hey, I'm Crowy, and I make content on Twitter and YouTube. You may have heard of me from the Just Stop video Ellis Mark Dangers in Dating, where I was in a call with Daft Peanut and Just Stop Braxton when they called Mark. I was also present for a bit of the production of that video. I wanted to give my perspective and experience from that time. I wasn't there for a lot of its production, but enough to be able to give insight into what I saw. I am editing this audio in entirety and then handing it off to Daft. I'm also handing off this background element, and it can't be edited down. I also didn't want to be influenced by whatever Daft's saying in his video. When I was asked by Daft to talk about my involvement, I agreed under the stipulation that I make this entirely on my own. Free reign to talk about what I want to talk about. I'm handing this clip off to him, and I don't want to see the script of his video or know what's in it beforehand. Back in December of 2022, I was approached by Daft Peanut saying Braxton had contacted him telling him that he thinks that an acquaintance of his, Mark, was being abused by his partner. I assume he reached out to Daft because Daft and Mark were friends who both shared a mutual fandom Discord server. I don't know the extent of Daft and Braxton's relationship at this time, but Braxton would later go on to tell me he doesn't really know Daft that well, outside of working on videos together in the past and hanging out at a convention. He asked if I could join a call with him and Braxton and 3 other YouTubers. In that call, Braxton presented why he thought he was being abused, and then they said they wanted to talk to Mark and see if he was okay. I was asked if I would join that call because I knew him. I'm not close with Mark. I don't know if I would even specifically call us friends. I worked with him as an editor for a couple of months in the years prior and had a few group hangout calls, but I was friendly enough that I was curious if he was okay, so I accepted to join as a neutral party because I knew Daft is really bad at talking with people, and Braxton had mentioned he had anxiety about talking to someone about something so sensitive. So the issue was these 2 guys who are awkward and anxious want someone there for moral support. For the record, I'm friends with Daft and have known him for about 5 years now. Before this, I didn't really know Braxton outside of a few small interactions when him and Daft were making videos about Antunes back in 2021. Before the call with Mark, it was my idea to do what was called the false pretense call. The problem with this is both Braxton and Daft fucked up the execution of it. I had said that if Mark is actually being abused, a common issue you can encounter when trying to talk to someone and ask them about their situation is their abuser could be hovering around them, or they're not in a position where you can talk to them. The idea was for Braxton to talk to Mark about some script he was working on, and then once he figured out if he was alone, then he could pull me and Daft into the call, and we could see if he was okay or not. I don't know if Braxton and Daft decided they wanted to do it differently or what they talked about when I wasn't present, but the day we called Mark, me, Braxton, and Daft were in a group call, and Braxton just added Mark to the call. The whole thing was so awkward and poorly managed, I just walked away from my PC for a couple of minutes and then came back for the rest of the call. I also want to say that having the written out questions to ask seemed overly formal and weird for this situation, and I even said as much to Mark during the call that, yeah, this question thing is fucking weird. It's also my understanding that Braxton was already working on a video about Mark's partner, Veronica and Jelly, prior to ever contacting Daft, and after talking with Mark and doing more research, Braxton wanted to shift focus on what the video was about. After that day, there were only 2 times I sat with them during the scripting process. There was only one of those times that it was just the 3 of us, and the second and final time, it was the 3 of us and a person who doesn't want to be named. For the calls I wasn't present for, there was always at least one other person, sometimes 2, sitting on the call. For anyone who's never sat through one of these scripting session type things, it's basically you hang out while they talk out loud what they're typing into a Google Doc. There were quite a few times that Braxton and Daft would bicker over the way something was worded or the way information was being presented. Oftentimes, I noticed that Braxton would want to say maybe, or this is speculation, or would want to use something that didn't have any evidence, and Daft would explain to him, you found and shown evidence of this, so why are you saying it's speculation? The first time I was on one of these calls was the first draft of the script. I told Braxton, you realize that you're going to alienate yourself from Mark and anyone he associates with if you make this video, right? That's something you have to be prepared for. And he said he knew that and he was prepared for that. I only sat in that call for around 30 minutes. In the second script call I was present for, this was the third draft of the script. There were a few times I would ask if certain information was necessary or if Braxton would just remove whole sections that felt like they didn't belong or were too personal. When saying things like this, I met a lot of backlash from both Braxton and Daft on specific details, fighting both of them. And had said a few times, well, it's your video and it's your name and channel on the line. So if this is what you want to cover, then cover it. During these times, that's when Daft would say, you can't use this, or this looks really bad if you keep saying it like this, so maybe reword it. They would go back and forth on this so much that at some points I would just tell Daft to shut up and remind him that this is Braxton's video, and that if Braxton needs to word it the way he wants to or present it in the way that he wants to present it, it's his credibility on the line. And it's his channel that he's uploading it to. And Braxton would thank me. After that, Braxton had started editing it, and I had DM'd him during the week asking if he had an ETA on its release. He said he wanted it out by the weekend, which seemed pretty quick, but I offered him support. Before the video was posted, Braxton had pulled me, Daft, and another person into a group call to watch it. The script had gone through a rewrite that Braxton did, writing it from the ground up. While watching the video, I noticed there was a lot of things that needed to be removed altogether, or at the very least edited out. One thing in particular was the tweet that led to Rice Pirate. I had told him, you realize that you're saying this guy wants to be anonymous, but you're using a tweet anyone can look up that will lead straight to him. You have to take that out. It's gotta go. This was something that I was very vocal about, removing that tweet. It just seemed like such a stupid thing to say, well, this guy wants to remain anonymous, and I'm respecting that, but here, have this thing that lets you find him, completely defeating the purpose of it. Braxton replied that the video was already edited, and that he was tired. Daft had a few things he wanted him to remove too, but they were irrelevant cosmetic changes. Everyone in that call told him that the video doesn't have to come out that day, and there's nothing wrong with reworking it and pushing it off to another date. Daft suggested the following weekend. After explaining he was exhausted from editing and working on the video, he said he just wanted to be done with it, so the call ended. He said he had already shown a bunch of people the video as well, and they all greenlit it. So now the video was posted, and it was out there. Later that day, he got into a live stream debate thing, where he got his ass beat on by several other people. I attempted to join the call because I felt bad he was being shit on, and wanted to offer support as well as ask a few questions about the Dubus Goobus part. Daft had talked to whoever puts people through for me to get on, but I guess signals got crossed. I didn't know it was a call-in type live stream where people could come on to make a point or ask questions. I was joining to be part of the conversation and offer Braxton support, but I kept being screamed at by Keemstar to make a point and then was forcibly kicked from the call after I told them to keep it rolling. I tried getting back on after that, but I couldn't get through. After I had appeared on the live stream, I got added to a group call with Daft and 5 other YouTubers who were watching the live stream. After the live stream was over, Daft pulled Braxton into that call. During this time, Mark had tried to call Braxton, and Braxton didn't initially want to talk to Mark, and the consensus in the call was not to do the call, because they said that Keemstar was trying to pull Braxton onto his show with Mark. People were saying this because Braxton said that he didn't want to be on Keem's show or any other live debate after being on the one he had just left, and since Mark was saying he would go on Drama Alert, it seemed likely that would be what would happen. To us, Braxton was still sure about the video and standing behind it. He was so confident in the video and was not budging on taking it down, or unlisting it, stating that the information in it needed to be told. A few minutes into the call, he left to join a call with Pan Pizza and Pan's partner. After some time, he came back from that call and sounded like he had been crying, saying the video was a mistake and he needed to call Mark. He then said he wanted to delete the video, but everyone had told him that the video was already out there and it's not going away, because people are already re-uploading it. and that since he put it out there, he should stand by it since he was so sure of it before posting it. It's also possible that videos are initially hated on and can later be seen as insightful when there's more evidence and information that comes out. Daft also told him that some people on Twitter had reached out to him in DMs and were leaking stories that they had dealing with the people who were mentioned in the video. There were a lot of people talking over each other, cutting each other off, and talking about why the video should stay up. I told everyone to shut the fuck up for a minute and then told Braxton that if he feels like he should delete the video, then that's what he should do. It's his video, and if he feels like it's what's best for himself, then he should do that for himself. After that night, there wasn't really much else going on. I DM'd Braxton a few times across several days to see how he was feeling, and he seemed like he was happier and feeling better. Several days went by, and eventually I got DM'd from Daft saying that Braxton was making a follow-up video. The next day, the video was posted, and it was called Clearing the Air. After skimming some of Braxton's Clearing the Air video, it felt like there was quite a bit of deceitful language used. I feel like Braxton became really ashamed and stressed about the video. I think that Braxton just wanted to do whatever it was he could do to make people not think of him as a bad person. I myself don't think Braxton is a bad person. I think he was overwhelmed and changed his mind about his video. But I also think that he's young and succumbed to peer pressure when others came to him and offered to blame Daft as an out. Daft became a get-out-of-jail-free card even though he was following Braxton's instructions. Daft already had a bias against Mark's partner and friends, so I don't think it would take a lot of convincing and evidence for Daft to believe Mark was being abused, and the way that the information was provided to me led me to believe there was a cause for concern. Braxton came to Daft about what was going on. Braxton asked Daft to help wording and researching the video. Daft did exactly what Braxton asked him to do. And now because people hate Daft, it's easier to try and pin what happened on him. Despite Braxton knowing full well what was going to happen after posting the video and accepting the consequences of putting a video like this out there. Now I do know that Braxton mentioned a lot of times in his video that Daft wasn't a mastermind or a puppet master and that he wasn't pulling the strings, and he really wasn't. At least he wasn't in the interactions that I had with both of them. But it seems like it kind of defeats the purpose of stating he's not the mastermind when the rest of the video emphasizes that he's an enabler, or that he enabled him, or that he was really pushing to put these things in the video. It just seems kind of like a contradiction. I also want to say that if you're friends with Daft, you're aware that people don't like or trust him over the mistakes he's made in the past. You can do a single Google search for his username and see that he's never gotten away with any of the mistakes he's made, even ones he made when he was 16. That's why, at least to me, people don't seem to understand just because Braxton is younger, it's easier to pass the buck to Daft because he's older and has such a bad reputation. Again, I don't think Braxton is a bad person by any means. I think Braxton is stressed and anxious, and it's easier to divvy up the blame and go with the flow when YouTubers with no frame of reference offer theories assuming he was manipulated by Daft. Anything else that happened outside of the calls I sat in, I don't know. I wasn't there, so I can't speak for anyone that was there during the production of the videos that I wasn't part of. I was asked to join the call with Mark, so I did. I was asked to hang out while they scripted, so I joined when I wasn't busy. Anything outside of that is territory that I have no perspective on.
Now, leaking art projects is a no-go in the community. With money involved, it can be a lost business opportunity, and bad press can make people turn away from the production before it releases. Back in 2022, I found out someone leaked some of Mark's pilot animatic, so I told him, and he thanked me for doing so. The video would later be taken down, seemingly just being on accident from someone who worked on the pilot. Not only would Mark let Sunny off with a slap on the wrist, but he himself was leaking my stuff in a server called Goon Squad. But that's just one server. I've spoken with many former and current friends of Mark that led me to various secret servers where they engage in shit-talking their friends. These servers would get abandoned after they lose or gain a friend. Some of them spoke with me, and this video doesn't scratch the surface of what they engage in. But I must mention these people came forward after Braxton's video released, so this is all new info. One of the servers I was shown included Sir Pela's girlfriend. If you remember Sir Pela's girlfriend, she was the one trying to attack Goobus on the same points that Sunny made that everyone refutes. But this Discord is the epitome of everything Veronica and Sunny. It's a place to troll and shit-talk anyone they like, far from public eye. The day of talking to Veronica in Twitter DMs was the same day she leaked them in the chat, as mentioned earlier in the video. Veronica would even at Mark to get his attention to see my leaked DMs. February 1st, 2021, I showed Mark the concept art for my pilot. He would leak it to the server the same day I sent it to him. He'd also do this months later, October 7th, 2021, leaking more stuff a month after I sent it. When I talked about my pilot in a video, Mark posted it on the server, with Sunny in the chat saying, "God, he's so bad at art." Mark asked Sunny to join a call. In 2022, Mark would post about my MomoCon trip, showing every update tweet we made, stalking our every move to make fun of. To say I feel devastated and embarrassed seeing someone claim to be my friend only to leak my cartoon, as well as make fun of it, would be an understatement. Mixing with Veronica making fun of his animator Zard, I'd be scared to work with him. The courtesy of me telling a friend his stuff got leaked was apparently something he was fine doing to me this whole time. And knowing their friend group of how much these things leak, I don't doubt it was spread elsewhere before my video released. Knowing it was sent to a place called Evil Talk, I can't imagine anything there was positive. But it wouldn't be me that they would just talk about. We'd also see Sunny leaking DMs of Veronica calling Smokey a pathetic bitch, and him also leaking DMs of Now to Defiler saying the N-word. However, the biggest leak would that be of Chris. Veronica first leaked the message that Sunny sent to her, then Sunny leaked the whole thing, meaning that Sunny sent it to her first, then the group chat for everyone to see. After months of not talking, the two would catch up. Sunny appreciated reaching out. Chris said a big reason for distancing was that people wanted to fuck with Sunny, as he'd do things that make people angry. It started to affect Chris. He mentioned Sunny's abuse of power as a Discord mod in the server, and even noted him leaking a girl's OnlyFans nudes and prompted. He continues to say there were patterns of drama and malice from Sunny that led them to stop being friends. Sunny would continue to prove him right by leaking their DMs to Chris's ex, as well as making videos attacking people and sending weird creepy DMs to them. The messages between Chris and Sunny were from November 29th, 2022. Sunny would immediately leak DMs the same day into Evil Chat. But in saying all that, Mark actively supports him, promoting his main channel, having him in podcasts, and even has a shit-talking server with him. Mark has yet to publicly comment on Sunny's actions, but can be seen on Twitter following him every time he makes a new account, because he keeps ban evading because of stuff like this. So of all this, Mark either pretend to be my friend to mug me for laughs, or he genuinely thinks this is what friends do. Be friendly with them in public, but privately leak their stuff, make fun of them, and hang around people who already hate them. Even in this screenshot, you can see Sunny leaking DMs of me, talking about not roping me into calls with Veronica. So it was something he did on purpose to troll me, and Mark knew the whole time. Whenever I talk to Mark about situations I'm in, looking back, how could I actually know if he's giving me advice, or just thinking of ways to troll me to impress his friends? If there's anything to learn from this, it's picking your battles, and Ellis Mark is one I should have abandoned a long time ago. From this point forward, I won't be assisting or helping anyone with their personal dramas anymore, or even making investigative videos about people like I did before. I want to move on, and despite the situation ending terribly, I'm glad it happened so I can move on from the people I once called friends. Keep on drawing, and don't forget to have a good day.